Hey, it's going multi-news act Tuesday 15th of March 2022. The front page as always. First up, New York Times, ongoing bombing at Kiev. Down here, story about two sets of refugees, both in Poland. Two different stories. On the left, a family who've been taken in by another family being looked after. On the right, Sudanese refugees being hunted down by border guards and forced to sleep in a freezing forest at night. Good example of what Noam Chomsky termed worthy and unworthy victims. Wall Street Journal, Kiev, Ukraine, Daily News, True Crime, Nash Post, Candy, ongoing bombing in Kiev. Grandma from Cuba, there's President of the Republic, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez, bestowing the Jose Marti Award for Journalism on this man here, Roberto Perez. Congratulations. Jose Marti, of course, key figure in Cuban independence, known as the Apostle of Cuban Independence, was a writer. There's a monument to him in Cuba, which is the largest monument in the world dedicated to a writer. And when Fidel Castro died in 2016, he was buried alongside him. Down the bottom quote from Fidel: Jose is ours. His glory and his memory, we will continue honouring him. Yes, thank you, Fidel. Star for South Africa football, usual corruption stuff. Jerusalem Post, Ukrainian refugees. Down here, tree plantings on disputed land to resume. Well, depending on who you talk to, all trees planted in Israel are planted on disputed land, so Tehran Times down here. Prehistorical glazed bricks recovered from smuggler in Switzerland. Go and show at Tehran Museum. Pretty interesting. These artifacts are connected to the Mannai civilization, which once flourished in northwestern Iran in the first millennium BC. Some lad somehow ended up with these in Switzerland, and he rang up a British museum and said, hey, come look at these, I want to sell them. British museum went over and said, nah, I think they're looted, we're not going to buy them, which, let's be honest, hasn't stopped British museums in the past, but however. And eventually the guy who had the bricks didn't pay his rent. The people who owned the warehouse ratted him out, and now they've been returned to Tehran 30 years later, which is great. Does kind of make you wonder how much other stolen artifacts are hiding out in Switzerland without being known about. There's one of the bricks there. Really nice, intricate patterns, considering it's 3,000 years old. The Hindu COVID inflation line go up. The Australian MH17 legal action to make Russia pay up. Okay, Russia been taken to court over MH17 when they killed 298 civilians. There's a picture underneath them killing even more civilians now. Global Times, China Paralympics. China captures powerful US NSA cyber spy tool. Good stuff. Hope they interrogate the tool and get some information out of it. Down here, picture from Rome. Some Chinese ambassador was meeting with the Yankee National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan. They were basically saying, look, China, you need to row in and sanction the shit out of Russia. Come on, get with it. But says here, China won't be misguided, and they slammed Washington for its arrogance in bossing other countries to unconditionally follow its strategy while showing no respect to the core interests of others. Yes, always has been. Irish Examiner, picture yesterday from Russian state TV. This person jumped on with a sign that said, do not believe the propaganda, they're lying to you. Yes, I've been here trying to tell people that for months now. Irish Times, horse racing, Ukraine. Irish Daily Mail, could dogs hold the answer to aging well? Some dogs only live to the age of 10, so I'd say no is the answer to that. Here, Putin's troops expected to buckle in 14 days. People getting out with the war predictions now, I guess, because it's Cheltenham week, horse racing. People feel like they need to make a gamble. I personally would just bet on nothing at the moment. Irish Sun, there's Roman Abramovich, horse racing, true crime. Belfast Telegraph, same thing from Russian State Media. Herald from Scotland, football, Ukrainian refugees. Financial Times, Ukraine. Down here, bottom left, Shenzhen lockdown puts supply chains in more peril. COVID running rampant in Shenzhen. Definitely going to affect supply chains. Could be worse than last time around, because last time around everywhere was locked down. This time around the West is open. There's loads of demand, and if China locks down, then big problem for the global economy. Guardian, Putin, Russia, same thing from Russian state media. Yes, the Independent, 4 stories on top. Ukraine, COVID, pay gap, football. Underneath that, picture from Mariupol. Daily Telegraph, picture from the Ukraine. China prepared to send weapons to Russia, says US intelligence. Alrighty, the Times. Here's Roman Abramovich. Roman Abramovich, part of £2 billion organised crime scam. This is old news, to do with him acquiring some big company they made billions off in Russia, and he apparently admitted in 2012 that he paid $10 million to pay off some Kremlin official. Totally old news, it's just relevant now, so it's been dusted off and brought up again. Daily Mail, there's a royal who's of course related to Prince Andrew, basically admitted to raping underage girls, trafficked with field by the other appliance of Jeffrey Epstein, did not cancel or IP. Over here, 44,000 signed up to give a refugee a home. That's great, love to see that. One of my favourite patrons was telling me yesterday that they've signed up to house a Ukrainian refugee, and they said that the government agency charged with it are so inundated with requests they haven't even got back to me yet, which is totally great. Great to see that goodwill. Hopefully, if there's extra people on the list, they'll be able to start housing refugees of all nationalities. Would love to see that. Daily Express, Cheltenham, those 3 British lads were killed in the Ukrainian explosion the other day. The Royals, Daily Mirror, there's the Queen. She said she's going to serve to the end of her days. Love to hear that. If you look closely at her picture, they've made it a bit transparent. The header's coming in behind it. I wonder, is that a little nod to Ghosty Queenie or something? I don't know. iNewspaper, Ukrainian refugees, the Metro, you're Putin us up, mate. That's a pretty good pun. So these anarchist types here have gone and occupied a mansion in Belgravia, which belongs to a Russian oligarch. You can see there it says this property has been liberated. Curious to see how the ruling elites will work this one out in their head, because they hate Russia, they want to sanction the country into oblivion, but also they have a massive hard on for private property. So curious to see the mental gymnastics that will happen to figure that one out. Daily Star Racing. Down here, the Turin Shroud is a tablecloth. Okay. Made in Burton-upon-Trent. So this lad has gone and analysed the Turin Shroud, and he said that he reckons it's the face of what's called the Fisher King, which is an Arthurian legend. And apparently the Fisher King was the last guardian of the Holy Grail, and he said the presence of gypsum in the shroud confirms in my mind that the cloth was indeed originally used to wrap up a statue of the Fisher King in Burton-on-Trent, where the minerals alabaster and particularly gypsum originate. So a little bit of interesting news, I guess. Bad news for the tourism industry. Anyway, Julian Assange is still in jail in the max security Belmarsh prison without fair trial or due process. It looks now like the decision on his extradition is going to go to Priti Patel, so that's not looking too good. See how it progresses. Queenie, still alive, still the Queen of England, still the mother of Prince Andrew, of course, who we know basically admitted to raping underage girls, trafficked people, and influenced Jeffrey Epstein, David himself, R.I.P. Boris Johnson, still the Prime Minister of the UK, and I'm still here, as always, telling you, if you want to stay off corporate media for the day, just click the link in the description. Alright, thanks, good luck.